I tell you to make a sandwich and you say, fuck off, I'm not making you a sandwich. Go make me a sandwich, hand it to me with a smile, and let's sit down and let's watch a movie together. Well, welcome back to another episode of You Incomplete Me.
What's up? Episode 2, technically 3.
Yes. And we're going to start it off with a bang. Would you still love me if I was fat?
Dun, dun, dun. So we talked about asking each other this question on this episode, and I made it a point not to think about my answer. So I don't know what I'm about to say. So this is going to be interesting. So it's going to be all off the fly. So I hope it makes sense. So would I still love Ryan if he was fat? So my logical brain, my first question is, what does fat mean? Because you and I, we've been together almost 10 years, and we were bigger when we got together. Then when we got together, we got even bigger together, and then we lost a ton of weight together. So we have been through quite different versions of our bodies where, I mean, if we probably measured our BMI, we'd be considered clinically obese, probably. Would you say that at one point?
We were big. I know it can pop up pictures. We were big.
Yeah. Like I was 200 pounds. You were like, I don't know, did you get 250?
I was about 240, yeah.
240,
but I was
like
competing in powerlifting.
Yeah.
That was my excuse.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've been through quite a few body types, and we loved each other and we learned each other. You know, were we happiest at those bodies? Definitely not. I think we're the happiest we've ever been now in terms of like contentment and routine and health and all that stuff. But I think if I zoom out and I don't use my logical brain in terms of nitpicking the question, if I say, would I love you if you were fat? And the short answer would probably be no. Because you're not, and I love you, and you are a combination of things, one of them being healthy and self-reflective and analytical and always trying to grow and be better, right? And because I know you and I know you as a man, I know that you would not love you if you were fat. I just know that you would not. And I would feel it come out. You'd be disappointed. You'd be upset. You'd be moody. You'd be angry at the world if you were fat, right? So would I have love for you? Yes. Would I love you as deeply as I do when we are working towards our health together? Probably not. And I think it's just because when somebody gains weight, they lose themselves. Like me at 200 pounds, I was a different person than I was at 120 pounds or whatever. I just was genuinely a different person, because to lose the weight, you have to embrace a different mentality. And so I've seen you through all those different mentalities, the ups and downs, and at your core, you still have the same values, which I love. You're a family man, you are a hard worker, but you can see the difference in irritability, in energy levels. Like, it's just, if I don't have to, I wouldn't. Why would we do that to ourselves? If the wedding vow is for better or worse, and we're constantly working on being better, and constantly working together to avoid the avoidable worse, that's one that we can avoid together. Now, I'll ask you the same question in a second, but I've definitely gained weight during pregnancy, right? So there's definitely a caveat to the rule of there's probably a limit, right? But as long as we're always snapping back like a slingshot with each other and realizing being fat, being overweight, being unhealthy doesn't just mean physically you're kind of cutting back years of your life, which is not fair to your partner if we've committed to forever, which is as long as we can together. But it's also just a reflection of where you're at mentally. And you can't be your best self in this partnership if you have extra weight on you. And anybody who's overweight and listening, they have to resonate with that. You can't be your best self and have extra weight on you. You're not a horrible person. Absolutely not. But you know deep in your soul there's so much more potential. So that's my long-winded answer. Perhaps I've offended somebody, and then I've done my job. What's your answer, Rai?
So would you still love me if I was fat? So
would you love me?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Can I change my answer?
It's and I have loved you when you were overweight. You were 200 plus pounds, and I remember you saying, like, why did you want to make love with me when I was that? And I have never seen you as an overweight person. And it sounds corny. I see you as a character. I see most people as the best versions of themselves. And your weight and your body is just a physical manifestation. And so usually sometimes we get caught in slumps in life, right? We get caught in ruts in life. And I think to myself, when you're overweight, it's not you're disgusting, you're overweight, I don't like you. I think to myself, like, why am I such a terrible leader that I can't influence Maddie through my actions? So I never think, oh, this is on her. I would always think, like, why am I not being so good, so amazing, so positive that it influences you to be better? Mm-hmm. And so I think that about everybody around me, right? If I just am so good and so positive and so amazing and so influential, naturally that will rub off on people, and including you. So when I saw you at 200 pounds, I wasn't disappointed in you. I was disappointed in me, because you are a reflection of me. Our relationship is a reflection of me. And so when anybody that I love is not doing well in my life, I always think it's my fault. And so the short answer is I would still love you if you were overweight, and long answer, I would still love you if you were overweight. And it takes time to understand that everything is your fault. And I think maybe that's just a man's perspective. I don't blame the economy. I don't blame my metabolism. I don't blame our relationship falling apart. I would always blame myself. And the reason why I do that, it just takes the attention back and gives me the energy to refocus. Yeah. Because if I was waking up early every day and exercising and meal prepping and weighing myself every day and reading and studying and working on me, naturally you're going to be like, wow, I want to be like that. I want to be around that. And you would follow. And so that's how I feel about it. And I remember you being 200 pounds and being so unhappy, not wanting to make love, not wanting to do that stuff. And you said, why did you want to be with me? And I really feel, and maybe not to comment on you, but in general, women are very concerned about their body. And so they're thinking, if I'm not sexy, other people don't think I'm sexy. So no matter what I can do to make you feel good, even if we're about to make love and you don't feel good about yourself, that's going to affect the whole experience, right? So my thinking is always that I want you to be content being you. So that means me being the most powerful self I can be, so that you can be strong and lean on me when you need help, if that makes sense. And I didn't mean to use swear words. Those were Maddie's words, but yeah.
I'll take the blame because we're trying to be better people. I think that's a very unique perspective, because I think there's like power flows in a relationship, right? Like you'll always be maybe one step ahead of your partner in one area, and they're 1 step or 2 steps or maybe 10 steps ahead of you in another area. So there's kind of ebbs and flows of, I don't know, who's the more powerful, for lack of good terms. And so I think it's a good point to mention, and I think weight is a good topic because it's in every relationship, right? The woman will be overweight after a kid and they'll feel self-conscious, and then the husband will say, oh, I love you at any weight, and this is a problem or a challenge that pops up a lot in relationships, is just health in general, not necessarily just physically overweight, just unhealthy, right?
Well, to catch you on that point, I think we've really formed a relationship of communication. I can tell you when you're putting on weight. I can tell you when I'm disappointed.
You can tell me, yes, that dress does make you look fat.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to freak out.
Well, you will freak out, but in your own quiet way in the corner of the room.
In my mind.
Yeah, but I think over time, at the beginning of our relationship, it wasn't like that. I couldn't talk to you about really sensitive topics, but as you entered my world, I needed to be honest with you, because I'm not trying to tackle the world and not be honest with my woman. I'm like, you're not being the best self you can be. I need to have honest communication with you when you're disappointing me, right? When you're not showing up. So I really think, and I thank you for being the type of woman that can be receptive to criticism. And we were just talking about that before we jumped on this video. Criticism from somebody you love is so important, because they actually see you for who you are, especially you. You see me. You know that I want to do certain things with my life. So when you give me a criticism, I know what you're saying. You're like, you want to be this, and what you're doing is not going to get you here. It's going to get you here. So act this way and you'll get this. And I think I can have a respect for you, and that honest communication helps us realize that this is so important to us. So leave it all on the table.
There's one of our mentors once, and they said, it's nothing out there that's going to ruin your relationship. It's what sits between you on the sofa at night. What's that silence between you guys on the sofa at night. And I think that's just true. Like, if you're going to be honest, it should be with your spouse. Like, why? There's nowhere else that you could possibly have a safer space, or should have a safer space than with your spouse. And I think it's very sad when a couple can't have that honesty for a couple of reasons, right? Maybe they're scared of being judged. Maybe they're scared of the other person's reaction or the other person leaving and stuff like that. But I think you don't know until you try. And the alternative of never having that complete honesty with somebody is way scarier and way worse than I believe being honest is, and potentially having repercussions and consequences to your honesty. And I think honesty is also a skill, right? You have to be honest in a way that the other person will hear you.
I agree.
Not get offended, not react crazily, not trigger them. Because, I mean, we're all human and we all have emotions and we're all sensitive to criticism, whether or not it's coming from a place of love.
Well, that you said it's a really good point. Honesty is very difficult to give to somebody or get and receive. And some people I'm just an honest person. Well, if you're going to be honest all the time, no one's going to like you and they're going to think you're a dickhead, right? It's giving honesty the way you're going to receive it, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, if I walk off a stage and I just finished doing a speech and I'm like, oh, Madison, how did I do? You're obviously going to say you did lovely.
Right.
I'm so proud of you. And then maybe a week or 2 weeks later, and we're watching the video or we're looking back, you're like, you see how you did this? You could have done this better.
Yeah.
But if you told me at that time, I wouldn't have received it.
Yeah.
But we've learned that because as we're going through shit together, we're like,
We've definitely done it the wrong way.
yes, I think
done
we
it.
continue to do it the wrong way sometimes. But
Yeah.
I think it's just knowing how to give the honesty as well.
Yeah, it's just not we're not shitting on someone to shit on somebody, right? And I think what's cool, at least from my perspective, is it makes me feel really good, and it makes me feel like a really good wife that you can be honest with me. I think when I think about honesty, I don't even think about, oh man, I'm so happy I can be honest with Ryan. Which I am if I think about it, but that's never my first thought about honesty. My first thought is, I'm just so glad and grateful that Ryan can be so, I guess, raw with me. And I'm such a safe space. I've learned to be able to handle it as good as I can. And just being able to say that you can be honest with me and I can receive it in a way that doesn't take everything so personal, right? Like, because why are you being honest in the first place? To help the person improve. So why would you take it as an attack?
And when I'm being honest with you, it usually is always about me projecting. That's every interaction with every human is projection.
Yeah.
Right?
When it's raw and emotional, that's usually where it's coming from.
Yeah, so we're like, I don't like the way you spoke to me at this moment. And then you're willing to just interject, right? I think the biggest thing that I've realized is that you cannot have two people being emotional in one conversation. So if we're having the conversation, it's either you're being emotional or I'm being emotional. We give each other the space to go through that. If I'm being emotional and then you go be emotional, then I'm just gonna retract into myself and then just listen and try to give you a solution, right? And it's taken me a long time as a man to learn how to be honest. It's just because you're honest when you're younger and you learn that it bites
get in trouble for it.
You get in trouble for it. You get bitten, right? It's like you tell a girl, "Oh my God, you're so pretty." Like, "Ew, you're gross," right? So you learn, okay, I can't be honest. I have to play a game with the girl in order to like me, right? Even at work, you go to work and you're sitting at a boardroom and somebody says to you, "Okay, what do you think about this?" And you go, "Yeah, I don't think it's good." And then your boss looks at you funny and doesn't give you the promotion. So you learn through navigating this world when to be honest and when not to be honest. And especially as a man, it's difficult because you got to play the game right. And I feel like women, it's okay to be honest. It's okay for women to be emotional. It's okay for women to be overweight. And, it's okay, right? Love you at every stage. But I find with me, I have to always be better. Mm-hmm. And after I'm better, maybe I can navigate my emotions, but who cares? Let's keep being better. Mm-hmm. But I notice if I'm not getting better, it's usually something internally holding me back. And I can have that conversation with myself, but I need to bounce the ideas in my head off somebody.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that not only are you my wife, but you're my business partner, my life partner. So I respect you. If I didn't respect you, I wouldn't be honest with you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
What if,
Go ahead.
side note, what if someone's listening right now and they have problems being honest, or their partner being honest with them? Would you say that's a respect thing on their end? How do they handle that?
So for me, I can only speak on behalf of men. As men, we just want our woman to be happy. Like, we just want a woman to be happy when they see us. I want my woman to cook me food. I want my woman to be like, I'm so happy I'm carrying your baby. I want my woman to be happy and like proud for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep trying to pour into you so that I can soak up your happiness, if that makes sense. Right? I'm going to keep investing into this. So the dividends that pay off are happiness. So it helps me out. You know what I mean? Right? But if I'm pouring into you and the dividends are stress and negativity, and I got to deal with your emotions all the time, like I get it that you're allowed to go through tough times, but all the time, I just think to myself, well, I can't be honest with you because every time I bring up stuff about me, about how you make me feel, it's negative. Right? So like, for example, if I say, hey, when you talk like this and it makes me feel like this, and you go, well, you make me feel like this. It just deters me from being honest with you. Yeah. And I've had this conversation before with you is women, they talk face to face. So they turn to each other and they talk face to face. So they're like, oh my God, my hair looks like this. No, it doesn't. It looks like this. We're men, we don't talk face to face. We talk shoulder to shoulder. Mm-hmm. So what that means is we tackle life, but we're having conversations shoulder to shoulder. And I don't think women realize that. If you were to just sit and be quiet and talk shoulder to shoulder with a man, you'd really get to know who he is.
Yeah.
I know who a lot of my friends are and my father and my family because I work with them shoulder to shoulder. I don't sit there and talk, how was your day? How was this? How was that? And I think that's why we have a depth of a relationship, because we tackle life shoulder to shoulder. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to tackle life and do things and travel the world. Yeah. And I don't need you complaining about life, about me. It's
all
like,
the time.
Yeah, it's just annoying. And I'm going to avoid you and being honest with you. And so when you ask, hey, do you love me? Do I look good in this dress? Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
At one point, you don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. How have you learned and navigated this with me? Or just because it's different because our relationship, we work together, but what have you learned navigating our relationship regarding?
I think if you ask any person, the key to a relationship is communication. And I think if you ask most people, they'd say, yeah, I'm pretty good at communicating, but that's a crock of shit. Like, there's just no way. Like, communication is so nuanced, and it is like, has a life of its own. There's so much that you can always learn, so much psychology. And then on top of that, it's so different from person to person. Like, everybody has their own triggers. That was my trigger.
Bless you.
I just triggered myself. So everybody has their own triggers. Everybody has their own past traumas or ways of coping and all that. So it's just so nuanced. And I think because you and I never had an option to walk away, you had to stick through it, right? Where most people might want to walk away because it gets hard. It's just, we said it's going to be hard no matter who you're with. You're cool. We have fun. Sure, we get into arguments, but I wouldn't want to argue with anybody else. And what's cool is, for the first time in my life, I'm learning a man, like really learning a man, right? You know, your father as a little girl is your superhero, and maybe to some degree he always tries to be. So you never really get to see the true person behind the father. So I never got to know my father as a man, right? Same with a grandparent or a brother. They're always characters to you. You're the first man I've chosen to let into my life. So I'm really, really learning you. I'm learning that just because you do something differently than I would, or you process something the way that I don't process it, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. And that's just, I see that in so many people. It's like they just can't comprehend that what you're doing is not wrong. It's just different. The way that you act in a crisis, the way that you handle an argument, the way that you process your emotions is not wrong because it's not what I would do. It's just we're two separate people. And I think people really forget that, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be married to myself. I think I'm super annoying. I would not stick around very long. I couldn't marry myself. And so if I'm not married to myself, there's going to be differences. And you have to accept that. And you have to remember that in the heat of the moment. When you're mad and you're frustrated with somebody, it's because you're not on the same page. And you're not on the same page because you're two different people. So there's nothing you can do to become the same person except shut up and listen and hear what the other person has to say. There's a difference between listening to respond and listening to hear somebody. Like really hear somebody. Not waiting to say your piece next. Not waiting to say what you felt about what they said. Like just giving that person a space to word vomit sometimes, or to go through a tough time, or to shit all over you if you made a mistake and they really need to get it off their chest. Like there's a bunch of different reasons why, but it's just,
you say something a lot, Maddie, and it's don't take everything so seriously. And we'll probably in an argument or a conversation, we'll say a lot of shit, and we never take it seriously until we get to the root of the problem. And then we're like, that's the problem.
Yeah, what we do is we either pin the conversation and come back to it because it's going nowhere.
Yes.
Right? And we've gotten really good at that over the years, because we had a gym and we'd fight in our office with the door closed, and then I got to go teach a class of 20 people outside with tears in my eyes. Like, you can't show it. You got to hide it. Right? So we've gotten really good at that. But it's just interesting because I think, as children, like, you're super honest. Like, you're rudely honest to people. Like, I remember my cousin, I was a young kid, my cousin was younger than me, calling my teeth yellow all the time, and I was checking the mirror every day for a month straight at my yellow teeth, right? Like, so kids are inherently super honest. So if anybody listening is struggling with honesty or wanting more honesty from their partner, just know that it can be achieved, because it was there in the beginning. It was programmed out of us, and you can find it together. It's just know that you're finding it together.
Yeah, and any lie or anything that you're hiding away will come up. Unless you're a gifted actor and just a sociopath, in a relationship, it will always come up. The problem or the issue that you chose not to address, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
And I think I need to tell you about the problem ASAP, because I'm trying to do shit with my life.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be at work. I'm not trying to go move something forward and thinking, oh, I'm fighting with my wife, right?
Yeah.
I'm nervous to call her, right? And
Yeah.
that's not the type of relationship that I want with you.
Yeah. I remember one time we used to flip couches. We did a bunch of crazy stuff. We used to flip couches, buy them on Facebook for free, and then we would sell them for profit and deliver them. You were delivering a sofa one time. I didn't come with you. You also picked up, I think, a free TV on that run as well. And you put it in the trunk. And as you shut the trunk, the TV was sticking out, and it completely shattered the back windshield.
It shattered the glass.
Yeah, but because it was tinted, it didn't actually shatter. It was just all crispy, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you called me and let me know, or let me know when I got home. Either way, it wasn't a big deal. Like, okay, we got to pay for it. Like, we have to pay for it eventually, so I can either be mad and then pay for it, or just get over it and pay for it and save us all the headache. So I wasn't mad at all. I laughed a little bit because it was a funny story. We're hustling, tying sofas to the roof of our little Golf, and we're trying to make money, trying to save, get ahead, and then we had this little setback. So it was funny. But the woman who you were taking the stuff from saw you, and I think you told me, she said something like, oh, your wife's not going to be happy about that, right? Or you're going to be in trouble when you get home. It's just like, why does life have to be that way? Why do you have to be on pins and needles, on all the time, eggshells with your spouse, when that's the person you should be spending the most time with, having the most conversations with? What's the ratio? Is it more positive than negative? Because I think that's, if you're talking about personal responsibility, I think that's on you in a relationship to make sure the ratio is higher on the positive side. And I think people forget that. Like, if you take a second and you think about the last 5 conversations you've had with your spouse, with your partner, even, outside of a romantic relationship, your best friend, your mom, the last 5 conversations, was there more positive than negative? And by the way, neutral is still negative.
Yes.
Right? If there was 2 positive, 1 neutral, 2 negatives, not good enough. You got to work harder. You got to try harder. Because over time, like, relationships are symbiotic. They're reciprocal. What are people getting out of it? What are you giving? If you're not getting what you want, you're clearly not giving enough. And you might feel like you are, which is exhausting. You might say it's not fair. But, you know, it's called karma. What goes around comes around. And if what's coming around ain't what you want, you got to put on your big girl panties and give more. Even if it's hard, even if you're exhausted, even if you think it's not fair. Like, who said a relationship is fair? I get so much benefit from being with you. I don't care that there's inequities or unfair moments. I get so much benefit.
Yeah, there is a lot of benefit you have to being with me, and vice versa. It comes down to the fact that you don't disrespect me. I couldn't even count on one hand how many times you've disrespected me.
Women listening, what would be disrespectful?
I tell you to make a sandwich and you say, fuck off, I'm not making you a sandwich. Go make me a sandwich, hand it to me with a smile, and let's sit down and let's watch a movie together. Why does it always have to be some sort of ego tied into it? I will drive 10 hours for you. I will make all the money for you. I will do everything, but I ask small things of you and it is a chore. I'm not a chore. You get to do this for me. You would do it for your child. Mm-hmm. I remember one time, and it's so funny, we had somebody over and I was laying on the couch and I was just drunk. I'm like, put a blanket on me. And they said, don't do that for him. I was like, put the blanket on me. It makes me happy. Do it. Right? Like, I don't understand what the issue is. Right? Does it really bother you to actually go out of your way for me? Does it bother me that I have to drive 10 hours? Yes, but I'd rather do that so you can sit in your seat and sleep and be happy.
Yeah.
I will start businesses. I will pull my hair out. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that your life is easier. But why wouldn't you do that for me? And men feel that. Mm-hmm. And a good thing too is, and going back to your body, is always trying to be on your best behavior, right? Be on, like when we were first dating, you're on your best behavior. You're wearing dresses, you're exercising, right? We're doing new things. We're doing new things in the bed. You're on your best behavior. But we get in the relationship and everything's gross now. I'm not doing that. That's gross. I'm not giving you a blowjob. That's gross. I'm not doing anything for you because it's gross. And it's okay. And then you just feel like it's a chore. Now our relationship's a chore.
Yeah.
But when you're not on your best behavior anymore. In my business, I'm on my best behavior. When I have to go to the gym, I'm on my best behavior when it comes to form. Mm-hmm. And my relationship, oh no, I'm just gonna chill at home and do nothing. And then when my wife asks me to do something, I'm gonna do nothing about it. So it was a long-winded answer. It's just disrespect is, I'm gonna sneeze.
We're on point today.
We are in a shop.
All the weird bodily fluid.
We are in a shop, so a lot of stuff is happening. But a big thing for me is don't ever disrespect me. You're by my side and you're behind me and you're here to help me tackle life. Mm-hmm. Why do I have to tackle life and deal with you at the same time? Yeah. I don't want to do that. I never wanted to do that. I wanted to have somebody where I was so excited. I was like, oh, let's go make $1 million. And we do it and like, look what we did. Isn't that cool? And then we sit there like, okay, let's go do something else. And I can do that with you. With these businesses, with everything we're doing, I'm just a little child. That's all I am. And when I'm trying to share my dreams with you, it's like this little child sharing his dreams. You're like, that's stupid. Yeah. It's like you're just shitting on that little child. And then what happens is you have trained me not to be honest with you. And you, inadvertently, you're allowed to make mistakes, disrespected my dreams and disrespected that little boy in me trying to achieve these things to prove himself to himself. Right? Yeah. You incomplete me, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a term that I really dislike is like he gives me the ick. You know, like there's something they did that gives me the ick. Now there's definitely some funny memes out there that you laugh at about that, but in a relationship, I mean, we all fart, we all poop, we all pick our nose at a red light, right? Like you got some big nostrils. It's like there's going to be icks. Like, why are we judging somebody? Because you don't want to be judged. Let me tell you, I got more icks than you. Like, you've got more icks than me. Like, we've got grocery lists of icks. And why is that? Why? I guess why do we let that judgment be the defining factor in how we feel about somebody? Why can't it just be a thing, not attached to a feeling? And I think people put too much meaning behind the little flaws that we all have, and then we don't zoom out and think of how awesome and cool the person is. And over time, especially if, there's disrespect, little disrespect in the relationship, maybe not blatant disrespect, but like you said, maybe beating that little boy down, not being as encouraging, not showing up, and, if your hair's in a messy bun and sweatpants and a baggy t-shirt all week long, that's disrespecting the relationship to some degree. If you have the icks and you're focusing on them, and then you have little disrespects popping in and you're degrading your partner subconsciously, like, it's just a recipe for no longevity. Like, really, really and truly, like, it would be so easy to just nag you all day for the things that I want done around the house, to nag you for not doing it, right? To nag you for, I don't want to go here. Why are you taking me here? It's just like, life is a journey. Chill out. You say you want to do all these things. Those things are never as exciting or as fun as you think they are. So enjoy being in the present moment. And if you can learn how to make the moment exciting, no matter where or what the moment entails, that's the true fun in a relationship. Like, you and me giggle all day long because we're just being stupid and silly. It can be in a car. It could be in a porta potty. It could be in a factory where we're sneezing. Like, we just have fun in the moment. We don't complain about the moment. We make the best of the moment. And I think life gets in the way a lot, and a lot of people forget that. So that's what I try really not to do, because we all judge, and I definitely can, in my mind, start that cycle. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm alive, I'm healthy. You're showing up, you're trying your best, you love me, you protect me. I'm not going to take that for granted, because that is so, so rare. And the grass is not greener. And so
I'm the best you're going to get.
Yeah. And vice versa. And that's how you should feel about yourself, and that's how you should feel about your partner. And if you don't feel that way about your partner, you can trick yourself into feeling that way about your partner. Because
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
If I was not trying to force my will and grow a business or my life, or if I was sitting on the couch and not exercising.
Yeah, but you're the one that was saying, I would respond to how you act, right? If you're the best version of you, it rubs off on me. So if you're not being a good version, then perhaps that's on me, right? Obviously there's, lost causes. For sure there's some deadbeat lost causes. But I think for the most part, whoever you're with, you chose them for a reason. And perhaps they're in a slump, but you can't judge them for that period. And you have to also look in the mirror and say, how did you contribute to it? Because, you leave that relationship, you go into the next one, then another slump comes along with a new person. How do you handle it differently? Other than, I wouldn't know where to start to help you out of a slump, other than to help me be better, go to the gym, eat healthier, cook healthy meals, start building things, start new projects, right? And then that energy is contagious.
Well, I think, and this is just my point and perspective on you, is that I just think you're a leader. I think you have that older sibling syndrome where everything's your responsibility.
For sure.
So you definitely are a leader. So even if you feel like something's lacking in me, you're like, I'm going to fix myself to go help him, right? I chose you for a reason, and you chose me for a reason, because we bring out the best in each other. And I've been in relationships where you're with them and then they bring out the worst in each other. And it's like you said, it's an average. So if I'm with somebody and they're bringing out the worst in me more times than the good, the chemistry is not working. When we're with each other.
That's the challenging part.
As soon as we were with each other, Maddie, everything came together. We made money. It took time, but we were building momentum. We started doing better in our life. Our health started getting better. More opportunities came on the way. It's because me and you are getting closer and closer and closer, and more tight-knit, and because we keep bringing out the best in each other. And as we get closer, we kind of get a little bit more open and honest. And I've learned as a man, I can be more intimate with you. Mm-hmm. Where at the beginning, it's not intimate. I can definitely make love and have sex with women, right? But to get intimate with a woman is very difficult. And I found that what we have is not because of making love or your body, it's because of what we've done together. And how much I trust you as a person. Like, we've gone through so much. We've lost so much money. We've lost businesses. We've gone through ups and downs in our weight. We're having a baby, traveled the world. And that type of intimacy takes years. And it's a solid foundation, right?
That's what I find so interesting, because you and I are a relationship pillar in a lot of people's lives, right? Like, you know, if you look around to all the couples in your world, there's not a ton of super strong couples or couples that we would aspire to be, or like my parents divorced, right? So there's no frame of reference in terms of what to look up to. So we became that in a lot of our circle. So they ask us for a lot of relationship advice, and how should I navigate this situation, and how should I handle when they say this and when we get in an argument about this. And it's so funny because all we can do is talk about what we would do with each other, right? I think that's very important to note, that you shouldn't speak on things you don't understand or you don't intimately know. But also, how do you know when it's your fault that you're not being your best, and you have to work on being your best and give patience to your partner while you become your best? How do you know if it's that scenario versus the other scenario where there's just an incompatibility? I still don't know.
Honestly, I've just been in such a great relationship with myself and you and my business partners and my family. It's just over my head, because, like I said before, I just take full responsibility for me. That's all I've ever had control of. But that's just over my head. I couldn't tell you if there's an incompatibility thing. You'd only know that. You would only know that, right? Like, giving it a good college try. And so many people have asked me, like, okay, so if you have such good advice, then what would you tell me for my relationship? Or what would you tell me for my situation? And I always give the same piece of advice. Work on your health.
Yeah.
Don't work on money. Don't work on your relationships. Work on your health first. So much so that you start to see physical changes, because physical changes in your body is a mental thing.
Yeah.
And then it affects your money. Then it affects your wealth and your ability to function. Then it affects your wealth. So when anybody says, you know, how would you fix my relationship? I always tell people, run on a treadmill and work out in the gym, and you will notice every single area in your life get better. Bottom line. Whenever anything is going to my life, going to shit in my life, I hop on the treadmill, not for 10 minutes, not for 20 minutes, till I'm dripping sweat.
Till you have tears in your eyes sometimes, just from what comes up. And
you know, a fascinating, we're getting a little bit off topic, but a fascinating thing I figured out with cardio, or with just the gym, is that we have developed these social barriers in our head, right? So we don't let people in, right? Because we got to function. We got to do our job in society. So we don't let people in. But when you hop on a treadmill and you work out hard, or in the gym, you work out so hard, you become so physically tired that your social barrier tends to come down. This barrier that you formed.
Right. And
the real emotions you feel actually come up. And the real problems you have actually come up. So when you're in the gym and when you're on that Stairmaster treadmill, you can actually deal with your problems instead of pretending you don't have them.
I think, it's not like you intentionally want to deal with them. It's like you no longer have the energy to avoid them.
Yes, your mental energy isn't holding up that barrier anymore. It drops,
and then everything floods, and you don't know what to do with it. So you have to start tearing it apart. And you said, just to go back a little bit, you know, one of the things that I say all the time is stop taking things so seriously. Like, the reason I think I'm able to be stoic for the most part is because I don't take things so seriously. Like, it's just, things are never that serious. And I think at least a lot of the people in my life, they appreciate that advice because they don't view it as that. Everything's kind of the end of the world sometimes. But I think if you just take a breather and realize, if you have a big decision to make, if you're feeling these unwanted emotions and you don't know what to do with them, just chill out. Like, there's no rush to make a decision if it's stressing you out, because when you know, you will know. right? And I'm talking about, you know, if you should end a relationship or try harder, right? Something like a big decision like that. When you know, you will know. And if you don't know the answer, if the answer is not I'm leaving or I'm trying, if you don't know, then the answer is don't make a decision. When you put in the personal growth work, the universe will present you with the answer. Until then, stop freaking out about making a decision, because the decision will come from the wrong place in a relationship. When you start making decisions out of scarcity, out of anxiety, out of fear, out of being rushed, out of uncertainty, it's never going to be a good outcome, even if the decision was the right decision. It wasn't made with the right intentions, and it's not going to play out in a way that's enjoyable or beneficial to you. Right now, I'm not against, I am against indecision, and I am against inaction, right? Like those are avoidance tools to actually facing and making a decision. But if you're genuinely faced with decisions in a marriage, if the answer is not a yes or a no, then you have time. And you haven't put in the work for the universe to present you with the right path. So until then, don't focus on the decision, focus on yourself, and the decision will come faster and more powerful than you could have imagined. That's, I guess, how I live my life. That's why I don't take things serious, because I'm never like, nothing's life or death except death, you know? So that's how I'm able to stay calm when we get in fights. And, you know, you and I, when we do, I don't even say fights. That just sounds so weird.
It sounds silly because we're never really fighting.
Like, what is we've never raised voices, but we've never yelled at each other. You know, every time we walk away, like I was saying earlier, you either put a pin in it because it's going nowhere, and then we'll reconvene later, or you just walk away and say, okay, let it go. Like, oh, I don't have the energy to hold a grudge. I don't have the energy 1 year from now to bring up that one fight we had that one time and you said that one thing about me. Like, I just do not have that energy. You know, we have this little relationship app that always asks us questions. Like, we get a question a day, and it's just fun to keep us, I don't know, intrigued. And half the times I can't even answer the question because I just don't keep track of half that stuff. I don't keep track of the last thing you said that hurt me. I don't keep track of the last thing you did that I didn't like. I don't keep track of the last favor I did for you.
Yeah, but Maddie, too, on that note, I have to be on point as a man. And I've learned this over time. When I start acting like a fool, it affects you, right? You're very attuned to my energy and very attuned to who I am. If I start complaining about money, then what do you start? You start getting tense, right? You're very attuned to me. So I'm very on top of being the best man I can be at all times. And I'm not taking away from your ability to be a leader, but I'm very aware of what I do and say affects other people. And so if I'm not exercising, or if I'm not, trying to move our life forward, and I'm not, praising you or trying to go on adventures with you, it does go down a negative hill a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's a part of the game, but I am constantly on point as a man.
Did you hone that skill because of realizing how sensitive I was to you? Or was that something that you honed by yourself? By
myself, long before you. But the world does not like complainers. The world does not like negative Nancys. The world does not like cynicism. It just pushes you away, and it gives other people opportunities. Mm-hmm. So if I say, oh, no one's giving me opportunities because I'm Indian and I'm brown. No, it's not. It's because you don't study, you don't properly conduct yourself, and you're not working hard enough. It's not because of that, right? And, oh, I can't find the right person that loves me. It's because you do not conduct yourself well for somebody to love you. It's just how it is as a man. Why would you love me if I'm sitting at home playing Halo all the time, right? And it's just a fact and the reality of being a man. Because I remember at one time, I'm like, I want a girlfriend. I would go up to a girl like, ew, you're gross. All right, hit the gym, and now I got girls like me. Oh, when I focus on me, girls like me. And then I cry in front of a girl, and she's like, ew, I don't like that. And you quite quickly realize when you're overly greedy, overly prideful, overly zealous, overly this, overly that. It really affects women because then they can't really express their emotions. I feel like that with me and you. Whenever I overly been something with you, you couldn't even count on one hand. And I'm not here to blame you, and I'm not here to get angry at the way the world functions. That's just how it is. And I need to be on point. You're pregnant. You're about to give birth in a week. What if you're about to give birth and I'm sitting there, oh my God, I'm so scared. Oh my God, how would you feel? You wouldn't feel confident,
No.
would you? And so you need me to be confident. You need me to be convicted. You need me to be ambitious. You need me to be
So
bold.
where did you find the need, or how did you know that need was there? Because, I mean, what you say, I think is a fact, and I think it applies to, I guess, all males. And I think if they implemented what you just spoke about, their lives would become incrementally better just from the fact of they're now action takers, taking on responsibility. But how did you come into that need? Like, how, if somebody who doesn't feel that way or doesn't even know that that's how it is, how could they embrace that?
Well, that's a great question, Maddie. Pity feels good for 10 seconds. So if I tell you life is really tough because I'm brown, and then you'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry for that. You're like, yeah, thanks. Pity feels good for 10 seconds, and then when you leave, I still have to deal with the bullshit of being who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be better. Every day, every day, every day. And it's not because of your skin color. It's not because of the economy. It's not because women have changed. It's because you are not good enough. Mm-hmm. And you get good enough by working on your health, by studying, and by just always being around better people. And this is a very nuanced question, and this could be its own story, but
tune in for the next one.
And you could answer it differently too, because I feel like a lot of the trajectory in my life changed when you came into my life, right? I was about to start the businesses, and then you came into my life, and it started right away, right? So there is, and even like I brought up the story too. Henry Ford, he was a very insecure man. He started one of the biggest companies in the world, the Ford company, right? And he's a very insecure man, and his wife was his biggest support. And you have been my biggest support. So I'm not gonna just say it's me because of me, right? You've helped accelerate things. I would have been me, but it might have taken longer. Mm-hmm. You've helped accelerate things. You haven't bogged me down with your emotional bullshit, right? With your family drama, whatever. You're like, no, I'm ready to build you. Whatever you want, Ryan, let's go. And I got to who I wanted faster.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just, put yourself first. I mean, you're the one that's waking up every day. You're the one you're living your life. To say don't be self-centered is kind of an oxymoron, because you are the center of your universe. Like, you are you every day. So you have to come first, but also, being selfless helps you grow. So there's a caveat there, but you're number one, then your spouse. In our life, maybe it's business, then family, because of how important business is to us for mental growth, but maybe business and family are tied. We'll figure that out very soon.
Yeah, we're starting our own family. I'm excited.
We'll figure that out soon, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a conversation that could keep going. It's very nuanced, and every time somebody asks me a relationship question, it makes me realize that I don't know how we got so lucky sometimes. I could talk about all the strategies and tactics and lessons and experiences that we've gone through and learned that we know have concrete evidence of helping us stay together and be strong and stick it out. But at the same time, there's luck. The universe, I don't know, maybe we're just good people and the universe rewarded us with luck. Maybe in our past lives we were really good people. I don't know, but I just feel really lucky. Above being able to sit here and talk about all the strategies and awesome advice we have, I think if you're just a good person, like, you just get lucky. And I feel incredibly lucky, and I don't think that a million podcasts could explain how we've been able to develop what we have with each other.
I agree. Yeah. Wow. That was very powerful. Just wrapped up in that. I am eternally grateful to have a woman, to have you, Madison, regardless of who you are, gender-wise, just you, Madison, by my side. I'm eternally grateful, and I'll forever honor that. I won't ever hurt that. I will do whatever it takes to honor that forever. And so that's just my take on it. I'm always grateful for you, and you're the first person that's ever seen me for me, right? My parents see me through the lens of being their child, right? My siblings see me through the lens of being a sibling. My employees see me through the lens of being their boss. But you actually see me for me, which is so freeing. And that you actually want to stick beside me and tackle life, I'll forever honor that. I won't disrespect that.
Well, that was a lot.
Yes, yes. That means Maddie wants to go home and eat.
I'm full. I had a large sub, a large foot long today, so I'm good. Baby's been dancing this whole time.
Nice. He's been
Fueled by turkey.
Yeah,
Fueled by turkey today.
It's up in the air. We don't know if it's a girl or a boy, so. But I always call him a him. I want a him. I want a boy.
Yeah. People are placing bets now.
Yeah.
Someone thinks it's twins. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope that was valuable in some way. You can always comment, tell us what you liked, what you want to hear more of. And we'll see you on the next episode. And we'll keep getting better.
We'll see you on the next one.